Power can be found in any number of places. Scientists will tell you that it comes in newtons. Gamers will say that it can be found in silky skills. We will say that the power lies in real thrills, in the play with perfect ping, in the runes and crystals, in every frag and gank, in your personal winnings. Lock and load, for PGL Arlington.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here for another day of the PGL Arlington Major and the final day of the group stages here. And it is, of course, MLP Dota and John X5. Jonathan, final day of group stages, sir. Group A, it's still unsorted. There's just so many teams still in the running to try and make it through to the playoffs. Before we get into all of that, so how are you doing? So how's your day been?
Doing great, Mike. Had a lot of rest and all pumped up for the last day here of groups. As you said, lots on the line for every team playing. Certain results have to happen for tiebreakers. We still don't know if we're going to even have any, but this is one of those determining matches. Sonics has to find a 2-0 to have any shot at, kind of staying alive and forcing a tiebreaker, potentially what I believe Team Liquid if their series don't go well. So it's all very kind of dependent on these last series. But if, all of those series go a certain way, there could be a lot of tiebreakers. We'll have to see. Of course, up against outsiders here, Mike, for Sonics. As you can see from the GG.bet odds, outsiders are definitely the favorites. They've had a really good run. We've seen them play some really amazing games coming out, especially off the back of DM's Doom. Like, they go off to a slower start in that game, and he just hits refresher and has a great time. I mean, Outsiders is a team that can hold on for a very long time, and that's something that Sonics have to be ready for.
Well, speaking of Sonics, John, we should have a look at their team lineups. Who's playing for this side is, like you said, John, Sonics, they're kind of desperate for the points right now. They basically need a 2-0 victory here against Outsiders, which is not going to be very, very simple. But this is the team that took a game off PSG.LGD, John. Of all teams, this is the one. Sonics, they made it happen for at least one game. And we know this is a great team. I mean, they've definitely got the potential to try and get a 2-0 here against a team like Outsiders, even if the group stages don't really reflect that. They certainly have the opportunity and potential to make it happen. Still, their opponents being Outsiders, definitely not going to be the easiest of opponents. You talked about how great these guys were the other night, and they are certainly displaying a very strong sense of teamwork as we do get through to the group stage. And right now, they're basically guaranteed a playoff position. It's all about securing that upper bracket position, though, for themselves on the side of Outsiders. And if they can get a 2-0, they're basically guaranteed that upper bracket position. So happy days for them if they can make that work.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're probably feeling confident. You don't want to be too confident, as again, Sonics, they still have that greatness in them. And they're still a team that you can't underestimate. It's just been a bloodbath in this major. Every team's been tested, a lot of 1-1 results, and it's just very even. I think we've seen just how well our regional leagues have sort of evened out the playing field. Just all that time spent playing in your region has provided a lot of practice for the teams. There's no one region that looks to really be on top. Maybe a bit of an exception for China, as it always tends to be for China. But otherwise, everyone looks great. And it's kind of unfortunate, but, we're going to be saying goodbye to some of these teams if those tiebreakers don't come out. And again, that's mainly on Sonics. They've got to bring that A game out.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's nobody else's fault, but they still have a chance, Jonathan. That's the whole point. And backs against the wall, but they can still make it happen here. Obviously, a little bit reliant on other teams also kind of not doing very well here today in these group stage matches. And that's what's going to make today very, very hype, is just the fact that there's so much on the line. And there's a high likelihood of tiebreakers happening as well, based on, how the scorelines go here today. So very, very excited. John, with this matchup in particular, is there anything in particular you'd like to keep an eye out on here? Like before we do go into the drafts, do Do you think any particular heroes are going to be out? We need to keep an eye out for here between these two teams.
I think for outsiders, they're going to be eyeing out whether or not they can get their hands on that DM Doom. I think the Ramses NP and the Templar Assassin coming out has also been a really good set of options for outsiders. They've had a lot of success off the back of those heroes. For Sonics, they've been kind of steady. They've always gone into that puck here. It's been picked up a lot more often than everything else. They've had a lot of Winter Wyvern games as well. Again, considering their win rate, it's not that high, but these are the foundations that Sonics has been playing off the back of. So I'm keen to see if they will go back to that, because they've had more success with other heroes. The IO has been working out well for them. The Brewmaster, kind of 50-50, but a bit more coming out when they can slide those through. And they might have to go with something different. You know, instead of the bog standard Winter Wyvern sort of opening, going back to that puck, they might have to get a little bit more dynamic up against a team like Outsiders. But again, considering how Outsiders are, they have been very dynamic, especially with Ramses and DM. Just having that option for that safe lane NP has been pretty big. Although, to be fair, Ramses' impact wasn't directly noticeable, right? He was just split pushing, farming. He was buying out space, preventing the high ground push. But again, when it comes to Outsiders' playstyle, they tend to love the stall game, and they just build off of it really well.
That's kind of the idea, right? Like you pick these greedier cores that like to farm and escalate in net worth, and Nature's Prophet is a pos 1, even if you don't have that crazy impact you're meant to have as a position 1. Like you said, John, you split push the lanes, you delay the game, and you get to a point where all 3 cores on your side of things are just way too farm to really control them. That's kind of what we saw yesterday from Outsiders. See if it can happen again, though. I mean, Sonics, on the other hand, considering how much this series does mean to them, it might be about time to start cheesing Outsiders, right? It might be time to really try and make those Lycan drafts work, or make the Visage drafts works. Just depends what they've got up their sleeves here and what they can run. We'll be finding out very soon, as the draft should be getting underway rather soon as well. But like I said, John, it's probably around that time where if you've got any kind of secret drafts that you wanted to bring out here at the major, it's probably time to bring them out.
Yeah, there's no room to just save anything in the pocket anymore. And for the most part, some of those quirkier picks we don't really see. Like, I don't believe we've seen a Husker in this tournament yet.
Right.
Could be time to kind of bring out that kind of combination, especially with Dazzle in the pool, right? Like, that's been a high priority hero for a lot of teams. You could slip in a Husker somewhere if you want to kind of give it out a shot here for Sonics. We'll have to see. We do have the draft already slowly building up, so you should be able to switch into it relatively soon and see what the priority bans are. Outsiders do take care of that Winter Wyvern that Sonics have been dipping into. So already, kind of forced to adapt there from Sonic's end, and Sonics will take care of the Tiny that we've been seeing pop off as well from the mid and that +4 roll. So just kind of clearing out the field of these relatively standard starts. I'm keen to see if Outsiders will allow something like the IO to slide out, and if Sonics will kind of allow that NP, that Doom that Outsiders have found really successful here.
Well, for now they are. Outsiders, they'll have a think about the second ban, and I certainly agree. The IO probably a good one to get rid of here against Sonics. We saw MSS playing a very mean IO the other day and was doing fantastic work on it. And there you go. There's the IO ban coming out. And like you said as well, John, I mean, I think it's probably best to just get rid of the Nature's Prophet right now if you can. Ramses probably will just go ahead and first phase it if it does come to it, because he does really seem to enjoy that hero in the current meta. You can't quite blame him, but obviously it fits the meta very, very well. But they get rid of the puck instead. Outsiders first pick. If they want the Prophet, they can take it. But you've also got Razor. You've also got Viper. Never mind all that, though, Jonathan. How could we forget? There's a Marcy still available as well. Outsiders, that's how they'll get started.
Yeah, it's one of their favorite heroes to pick up as well. One of their higher pick rate heroes and pretty decent win rate coming out. You have a lot that can come out with that. They tend to pick that with the TA. I think the last time we saw that was with the Ramses TA coming out. And they did win that one up against OG. So it could be a really strong combination. You don't really want to first phase pick a first pick as well, TA overall for Sonics, if they kind of want to remove it. And I think we saw Outsiders first phase that TA last time around. So great foundation to start with a Marcy. Sidekick is nice to toss onto a physical core. And Nature's Prophet that we were talking about still kind of fits in with the Marcy as well. So there's still some value there for Sonics. Yeah, they've got to find some way. Like, just the Marcy alone isn't too challenging, but it's the implications of what follows through with the Marcy. Because outside of those combinations we talked about, there's always the Marcy Razor to fall back to as well if Outsiders want that.
Oh, certainly so. Might be the combo they do want, but Sonics, they have a potential chance to take that Razor away if they do wish. They are thinking quite heavily about this first phase picks, and Sonics, they are going to go into the Timber. That's a hero that hasn't really been allowed in any game, and it does finally make its way through here for Sonics. Very, very potent in the current meta, very hard to deal with. And Sonics, they do get given the chance to run the Timber Saw, and this might be the kind of draft opening we're looking for from Sonics to try and pull off this 2-0 victory for themselves. Just what do they follow up with now? You've got the Timber, maybe just support to follow up. They're going to go straight into the Dazzle. Fair enough.
Like the combination coming out from Sonics. We talked about a little bit of cheese. Shallow Grave in the Timber Saw. He's going to do a lot of damage in that time where he's allowed to live true. Very durable as well. And that is the Let's Allow Timber Saw. So one of his specialties, of course, in the offlane. Keen to see how much he can get done with this combination. It is fairly potent. And it can just kind of rip through a lot of heroes. Like now picking the Nature's Prophet into Timber Saw feels a little bit awkward if you do want to do that. Instead, Outsiders will dip into the Batrider. We also see them pick up quite frequently. Fairly open in where you could lane it. I believe we've seen DM play it, and of course GPK can still run it mid. So open enough into as to where you want to play it. It does give him really good single target control. And it's a great hero to kind of jump the back line. Once you have the blink up, you can just search for the Dazzle, remove it from the equation, and suddenly that Shallow Grave save isn't there anymore.
Certainly not. Batrider, a very nice pickup here for Outsiders. Actually completely ignoring the picks we were talking about as well. So you should have a good position here to just ban the TA, ban the Prophet for Sonics. Outsiders for now, they'll get rid of the Queen of Pain. Seems like it might be a bit of a focus here on the mid lane of Sonics. Just ban out those mid laners that you don't really want to see against the Batrider. That is, if Outsiders do want to run the mid bat. You'd assume it would be a mid Batrider for now, though. As Outsiders.
5 seconds remaining.
Maybe set to get rid of the Void Spirit as well, which we do see Quinn playing a lot here for Sonics. Does decently enough against the Batrider as well. We'll think about it for now.
Yeah. Just kind of suss out what they want. I mean, Outsiders are keeping that Batrider flex. I believe we have seen DM play it more often than not, though, over GPK. So it does look like they prefer that on the off lane more than anything else in comparison to other teams. But again, the options are still there. They take care of the Faceless Void here. That can come out from your War. Still has a couple of his comfort heroes on hand. Something like Dazzle Terrorblade doesn't sound too bad, right? Shallow Grave is really good on Terrorblade once more, with a Sunder to kind of stay alive, so that there could be a lot of value there for Sonics to play around that. The single target control from Outsiders is there, and the magic damage is there from Batrider. In lane, it's pretty damn annoying if they will run that DM Batrider, so it might make it less clear-cut for Sonics, but it is still something that can work out. It's just, it's going to go off to a rough restart. So wondering what else they could take for your War. Like, we've seen a couple of his Medusas. Could be really good still with a Dazzle. Like, there's a lot of big, hard-hitting scaling cores that Sonics can always fall back to. They're probably not gonna pick that up in the first pick of second phase, but those possibilities will remain past the bans here.
Well, final ban outs to come out here, John. Outsiders. One more to go, and so is there one more for Sonics. POS 1's being focused on here by either side now, as I saw the Monkey King being removed and the Void from Outsiders.
Quincy Crew's turn to
They'll also get rid of the Invoker here against the Bat. Well, like you said, though, it is probably going to be an offlane Bat anyway, so just get rid of the Invoker here for Quinn. Sonics might just keep going for the Ramsey heroes here. Again, just very focused on the position 1 pickups.
10 seconds remaining.
The Prophet is still there, though. Mind you, Sonics might be very confident going against the POS 1 Prophet with this Timber Saw, so that might be the kind of idea is let them choose Prophet.
Yeah, it's not the comfiest against the Timber Saw. It's pretty rough. You can't really leverage your treants. Timber Saw can follow you if you split push. Mobile enough to kind of get that done. There are still a couple of options for Ramses. He's been playing again. The Razor you mentioned earlier still kind of ties in for Outsiders as well, considering that you can get a Morrissey Razor lane for Outsiders. So could be one way to get that done. Counteracts what Sonics might want on their own POS 1 down the line. The War heroes just tend to be really good static link targets. So if they don't kind of ban it, could slide out. And they do ban the Bloodseeker instead. So Marcy Razor is still a possibility. Ramsey's Razor is still kind of on hand. We'll have to see how Sonics builds up. And just with the Dazzle Timb, again, it's fairly open. One thing that you are lacking is control. So you might want something on the support side that helps hold heroes down a little bit more. Or you can kind of go all in on, say, dispels and saves. And we'll go with a Tusk, which is kind of a mix of both. You get a good stun out. You have a good save once you have Blink with a Snowball. So the lasso threat isn't as big as long as that Tusk is around handy with a Snowball.
Certainly so. Outsiders. Third pick up for them now. Could just choose to go for another support here if they do wish, not reveal too much with their draft. You still have so many strong heroes available. Like, you've still got that Razor, you've still got that Viper, you've still got the Prophet. Just so many things to go for that seem to be banned out every single game. Now, neither side really wants them, though, apparently. So Outsiders continue diving into that reserve time for this third pick. In the end, we'll go for a Snapfire pickup, so still ignoring those heroes we just mentioned. And they'll even go for a Junk pickup as well. Well, why the hell not?
Yeah, it's a stable core for Ramses to fall back on. You don't really care for the Timbersaw with your spin. A lot of his magic damage and pure damage just doesn't deal with that spell immunity. So you have a really good core to kind of deal with that. You can build Silver Edge and Jog, although it isn't fairly common. You might not need it up against the Timbersaw as well if you rely on the Shard build. So you can kind of play here. The one issue is Spin TPs isn't the safest against Tusk. They have at least one way of piercing through spell immunity channel. So running away for Ramses might not be as easy to get done. And as you mentioned earlier, Mike, the Quinn Void Spirit's on hand. They pick it up. Now the worry is, if Outsiders put the Batrider mid for GPK instead, which they have done at least once, Batrider versus Void Spirit, I mean, Quinn is a fantastic Void Spirit player, so he might be able to make that even out a bit more, but overall, that lane is pretty atrocious.
Yeah, I mean, the Void Spirit doesn't do too bad. Like, it just depends whether you can outplay the Batrider. That is all it's about, but let's see. I mean, like you said, Outsiders, they might switch it up. They might throw the Bat mid. Quinn obviously knows this though, and we'll go for the Void Spirit regardless. It is a comfort pick for Quinn as well, to be fair, though. The man loves playing Void Spirit. See, again, in a series like this where you are fighting to not get eliminated, you may as well go back to that comfort, if you will, and that he certainly does. And now, the final ban outsider come for this draft. Outsiders, 50 seconds reserve time left, looking for a position 1 to ban out here against Yawar. Any position 1s that kind of stick out to you here, John, for Sonics? Anything you in particular would like to see here, drafted by Sonics?
And Dusa kind of fits in still. It is a bit slower to farm for Yawar, but again, it kind of plays nicely enough with a Dazzle. You just kind of enjoy staying alive longer. You could get your mana back if you have your Ags, get the Mystic Snake out there. So could be nice to have a Dusa here. This gives you a nice core, gives you a little bit more team fight as well. Terrorblade's still an option if they want it on Sonics, although again, that can be a little bit rougher if they manage to get the angle onto you, and it can get really awkward because you don't have a great dispel outside of Snowball to stop the control from Outsiders coming through. But something big and beefy could probably fit for Sonics, or they could go into something like, say, the CK. Wave clear from Outsiders or AoE clear isn't particularly amazing outside of Kisses here, so you can kind of just pop the Phantasm, run someone down, and you aren't the most durable on Outsiders end. Outside of the Jog, Batrider can get handled by that, although again, with enough Napalm stacks, you probably don't care. There's that Dusa ban from Outsiders, so just preventing Yawar from having that big, strong core. You could go for something like a PL if you feel like the Batrider is off lane, but it can still be adjusted to by Outsiders. Again, the wave clear of Outsiders isn't the best, so something illusion-based could work out. A PL can fit in, it's just... It can still be tricky. I think Outsiders has a lot of room for their off-lane pick for DM with the flex of that Batrider to still deal with something illusion-based. So it's a little bit rough, and you can see Sonics kind of banning out a mix of offlane and just kind of focusing there. They go with a Necrophos though on Outsiders, which is surprising. I expected them to maybe sneak around for something like the DM Doom, which again, he's been fantastic on, especially if he manages to work up into the refresh. Necrophos does give them a little bit more laning presence. It is a lot more aggressive early on as well, but it also kind of tapers off a bit harder. Cooldown on Reaper's Sight doesn't go down, it feels like eternity. And if Sonic's just gets a snowball save, you can kind of dodge that. So a lot hanging on, say, MSS's Blink here to counteract that.
Right. Well, you are going to have the Morph to finish off, which is a hero we just never get to see anymore. But there you go, Sonics. They will bring out the Water Boy for Yuar. I personally did like the Necrophos pick here just against the Timber. I can appreciate what you're saying, though, with the Tusk and even the Dazzle being there. But we'll see how it all pans out. Outsiders versus Sonics again. Sonics more desperate for the points than, say, Outsiders. But Outsiders also trying to establish their upper bracket position going into this matchup. John, you seem like you have some point to make here. So what is it, Jonathan? What are you thinking?
It's a GPK Necrophos. They're sticking with a DM Batrider. They're running the mid Necro. Okay. So I'm Batrider versus Morphling lane is pretty damn nice. I just expected they'd want to shut down Quinn more because he tends to set that momentum. So this should give Quinn a little bit more to play with if he can just jump up to GPK, get some right clicks off. Of course, the Necrophos very rarely loses lane just from all the sustain it has from last hits on the aura and from its death pulse, so it shouldn't be too bad for GPK. I expect Quinn to have something much more playable here, though, as, again, he's a fantastic Void Spirit player. The Morphling pick into Necrophos, though, that's a bit dicey. Like, it is a confidence pick for your war, but down the line, strength shifting isn't going to save you, especially if your Dazzle and Tusk are cut off. But that does mean Outsiders have to play it on point, finding that backline. I think that's a little trickier to do here, considering the mobility they have on these heroes aren't particularly amazing. So a lot of back and forth in the draft, and it should lead to a fairly even and exciting game here, Mike.
It certainly should, John. Game number 1 between Sonics and Outsiders set to get underway. And of course, the good luck, have funs are coming out as Fada. He's too cool to type, John. He'll bring out the Mason voice lines once again. Make us giggle like little girls every single time he plays them. Very, very immature casters we are, Jonathan. Very immature.
It never ends.
It doesn't.
Oh, God.
Oh, goodness. It really doesn't. It really doesn't.
Oh, no.
Does it make you sad, John? Like, at our age, we're still laughing at this crap? It's sad, isn't it? What kind of life do we live, John?
I don't. Yeah, it's very evident, Mike. We cast Dota.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know about our lives. That's it. Smoke out.
Absolutely.
Under vision, though.
Under vision, and the smoke is already broken. Yamich was there. Sonics. They're still going to try and move forward. Plan a poison touch on someone as Fada is going to find Yamich, but that's not really the target you want. In fact, now the cookie onto 2 and Ramses. He's going to get right to work. Oh, I'm not sure about that, Sonics. Quinn, you'll get chased down now as well. He probably won't drop here on the Void Spirit, but they have already handed First Blood the way of Outsiders. That's a bit of a rough start here for Sonics.
Yeah, they really force out that smoke play. War being chased down here as well.
That he is. He should be fine, but they are still going to harass him quite a bit as the rebound also there. You are just going to be forced to take a bit of an awkward start here in the Morphling and might even just walk right back to the fountain, honestly. It's now Sonics bringing Leslau down, so they're going to go for a bit of a lane switch up here by Sonics. Bringing the Timber here against Hakoda and Yamich. I should say rather Ramses on the Jug. They want that kind of matchup against the Juggernaut. Fair enough. Yamich, is he going to stick around? And Hakoda, is he going to stick around? We'll find out soon, because MSS, he is not leaving Hakoda alone.
Yeah, I like that adjustment from Sonics. They see Ramses run bot. They know they're going for lane switch on Outsiders. They don't want the Morphling to deal with a Batrider lane. So they just kind of bail out, or they don't want the Timberside to deal with a Batrider and just kind of back off. And this should be still pretty good for Outsiders, though. Like, we talked about the strengths of Jug up against Tim. You've always got the spin to kind of avoid. Timbersaw not going to feel that safe up against the spin itself, because that is magic damage. Doesn't care for the reactive. So overall, Ramsey should be able to find farm. And even though this is a bit of a weirder lane for DM, and he went level 1 Firefly, he does hit level 2 with a solo EXP that Outsiders has given him. So the tri lane is kind of working out in terms of getting their Batrider started, at least.
Oh, certainly so. suppose the one thing that did kind of affect him a little bit is the level 1 Firefly, but it won't matter now because he has hit level 2 anyway. Damage is going to TP up, by the way, so Fada, he's going to be in danger already. Nice TP rotation, DM sees the opening, a great dispose out, onto 2 once again, and Fada is just going to drop. Yamich, he's thinking about not taking the kill, but eventually will just take it, realizing that his Batrider cannot do so. DM, he does take a substantial amount of damage, but he's going to be happy with that.
Yeah, just a great set of kills coming out already for Outsiders. 0-2 start. Top lane, it's something that will just stay aggressive. I think the one lane that you've got to rely on now on Sonics is Quinn's mid. Up against GPK on the Necrophos, they should be fairly passive, but that does mean the Void Spirit, again, should have a better time in comparison to laning up against a Batrider. Should have a little bit more CS as well, though. You can see GPK just kind of running around. Has the brown boots first, doesn't need a bottle, so you can't just kind of run up and harass out Quinn if he's not careful.
Lane, bit of a dive in, Quinn. He's going to be fine. GPK getting rather aggressive now on that Necrophos. He's just fine though, as Ramsey's bottom lane, Cookie, won't land onto MSS. A very nice little sidestep there from the Tusk. Ensure he's just fine. As certainly if you can land that Cookie into the spin, it's going to be quite a lot of damage, and MSS has held out on the skill point this whole time. Just not going for the snowball yet, not going for the tag team yet, just being very patient, just in case he needs that snowball to be up. The Outsiders will just take themselves a little bit of time to keep that farm going. Mitch trying to be as annoying as possible here in the Marcy, but see, against the Dazzle, you do have to be somewhat cautious. Don't underestimate how much damage you can do with that Poison Touch.
Yeah, it's level 2 now. Fada's got a little bit more presence coming out. And side lanes are still going rather slow in comparison for the side of Sonic, so they will have to try to find something more. Their momentum will have to really build off of Quinn, and to an extent Leslau, considering an even laning start for the team. But for Quinn, it's starting to drop off a little bit. Like, he is getting harassed out here.
Oh, rotation's out. Cookie's gonna land. Quinn's gonna drop. Tips out from GPK already. Oh, Quinn, he's having a very rough time.
Yeah, everyone's just eyeing him out. And, I mean, it did end up being a better lane for him, but the rotations coming out from Outsiders just kind of nullify that. You have a lot of presence coming through, even with just the snap coming in. And that's the one issue with MSS being so sacrificial right now on the Tusk. He doesn't have the levels to play. He's level 2, still hasn't skilled anything up.
Quinn. Rebounds there. Dispose out. No ball's gonna save though. MSS barely there in time. Quinn still trying to run. Might make it out, but the chase is going. Nice shards, however. It will save the day. Holy goodness. GPK, has he gone too far now? Fada is going to rotate over, but GPK, he's still got help around. A nice Aether Remnant is going to lock onto GPK. Still going for the fight, but is dropping low now as they do get Fada, but they will find a very nice trade against GPK. They'll take the Necro, but now Quinn in danger once again. He's going to try and Resonant Pulse, but it won't be enough as more tips to come out. Quinn will be making the walk of shame back into the mid lane, and they're even forced to bring Yawar on the Morphling just in case they need it.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for Sonics. They needed to find a punishment. They have to drag the Morphling in. That frees up so much space for Outsiders to play this farming game. I mean, DM's just got the freest lane of his life solo. Going to be building up fast on that Batrider with no threat at all. And we've seen Outsiders do this before. They drag all these heroes mid. They force the attention of the enemy team to turn there, turning it into a 3v3 lane. And the Outsiders just get a lot more out of Ramses and DM than the opposite team can with their own cores. That build-up is going to ramp up. GPK off to a fantastic start despite that early death. The snowball save, as we mentioned, is big. MSS, he's got the skill to get that done. Down the line, though, whether or not he's always going to be there to save is another question.
Absolutely. Quinn getting unlucky with the power rune there as well. GPK might be able to contest or even just force Fada to take that haste. And he will. Very annoying here for the Void Spirit. Not able to secure that, and almost 2 levels behind GPK now to make matters worse here for the Void Spirit. So this Necrophos matchup has worked very well for Outsiders. They are going to rotate more heroes in from Sonics to try and defend this mid-tier 1 tower. They do have that 5-minute siege creep timing here from Outsiders. In they go, though, with the rebound. Yamich, a little bit off the mark there onto Quinn.
Dire's structures are
They
fortified.
are eventually perhaps going to back off, but no, GPK, he wants to tank the T1 tower. In fact, never mind. He'll let the siege creep go down this time around. But they've already dealt over half the damage to that mid-tier 1. So they could really just come back at any time and finish it off. So quite detrimental here to the side of Sonics.
And again, they've just had to park 3 heroes mid every single time, but they can't play. Quinn does have 6, he does have the 2 steps up. Jumping something like the Necrophos might be a little bit too much. There's a lot of durability out on GPK, and you know, he's going to have this really quick Spirit Vessel timing, which is to the detriment, especially of Yawar. He's not going to enjoy that. Even the Timbersaw of Leslau isn't going to enjoy that healing reduction coming out. So you have a great way of canceling through from that sustain that Sonics will want to fall back to. And even then, I don't know if Sonics is finding enough to really get up and running on those heroes. Like, Leslau does have a free lane now. So he's starting to get some room out on that Tim. It does feel like he needs to start making some plays that will force the attention of Outsiders to him. Because as it is, there's not much room for Quinn to get his initial items. He's still a ways off from even just getting his Witchblade here in this game.
Yeah, it's a very rough affair here. He'll still have a bit of time, though, to try and get that initial farm going, but he certainly can't start rotating, as he's going to try and fight over the 8-minute power room, but gets unlucky again. Oh, it's going to be an Arcane as well, but it's going to go to Yamich, who does chase down MSS for a little bit, but eventually we'll let him go. It's so hard, though. Like, when you're this far behind in the Void Spirit, you do kind of rely on a lucky power rune to kind of get you back into the game and allow some kind of rotation, but he's just getting nothing.
Yeah, it's just not coming out. And again, it's back to that commitment from Outsiders to put all the attention on mid, to free up the side lanes. You just see how much more DM and Ramses are farming. They're getting a lot more out from their heroes. You've got a pretty good travels timing for DM to get into. He even has a keen optic from neutrals for himself. So he's going to have a really good threat with Lasso coming up rather shortly. Whereas in comparison, Leslau, he's up there right behind GBK. But it does feel like the Timbersaw is much more sensitive to early timings. And we aren't seeing him get the attention that he'd want. In fact, we're still grouping up mid, still shoving in here.
Yamich is there, looking for a disposed target, and Quinn would be a very nice dispose, as they do have the Reaper's Scythe and Spirit Vessel already up. Quinn, he's going to be very careful. Yamich going to be able to land it. Can they blow him up? Quinn going to be just fine. They couldn't land the cookie in time, so he's going to be alright to back his way out on the Void Spirit. But the problem is, John, they lose the mid-tier 1 tower. Outsiders, they have the jungle open now once again against Sonics, and they are going to really overtake now as Outsiders already heading toward the top lane. Would love to try and find Yawar. No vision around to scout out Outsiders' position, so they are certainly in a great position to try to make that happen. They're just going to land an initial stun, unless they find Fada instead, and they will. With that Observer Ward, they'll have the vision, and they'll secure a Reaper Scythe kill here for GPK. In fact, MSS also being caught out on the Tusk will go down as Yawar. He has Waveform up. Spirit Vessel will be there. They'll try to lock him down. Yamich, he's around with the Dispose, but won't go for it. In fact, now the turnaround is there. Sonic's going to try and get something for their trouble. And it seems like all they'll get is Yamich out of this. But considering the position they're in this game number 1, they need anything they can get.
Yeah, those are still some pretty important kills for them to find. Finally see Leslau show up, use some of that durability and that really great damage output he has with the maxed out Timber Chain to rip through, although.
Ooh, goodness me. No Reaper Scythe available there onto GPK, but very rough affair for the Morphgon. You kind of talked about the Spirit Vessel timing here for GPK, but you just see how he's able to run him down. He knows that Yawar cannot in any way fight back against this Necrophos. Not without his team, and even with his team, GPK just a little bit too farmed at the moment.
Yeah, he's way too far ahead, and he's trying to rush that. Lincoln's going to provide a lot of value up against Reapers, up against the Lasso coming out, so going to allow him to play more.
I don't think he has enough damage to burst down Yawar, but if he had a +1, and it is +1 is incoming, Yamich is there, but Yawar's going to be okay. Gets by the T2 tower, and they won't go for the dive in.
Radiant structures are fortified.
It's fine for now.
Radiant's bottom tower is under
Smoke
attack.
out from Sonic's trying to find top, but DM does back off in the nick of time. Has those travels up in the Batrider.
Mid lane, they've locked down Quinn again. He's going to be all right. burst damage right now to get the Void Spirit, but very, very close.
Radiant's bottom tower.
In the meantime, John, bot lane, GPK does find the tier 1 tower, and Yawar is still being watched as we speak. Yamich is there. This is what Outside is just proving to be very good at, John. You get a lead, you just kind of follow the opposing POS 1 and try to make their life a living hell. As now DM top lane. MSS may just get caught. Does have Snowball available, but has to go back towards GPK to be able to get it off. So he is guaranteed to die, but at least you save Leslau, I suppose. For now, Leslau was also being chased down, but DM, he'll go after Fada instead. Much easier target, has the lasso up, and there's no contest. Outsiders, they'll take another.
Just run around, finding all these kills, 3-9. They're so confident right now that Ramses did finish up his Midas. So Midas first item on the Jug. He's not been contested, he hasn't died. And he's not even copying any spells. Trying to play tag with Quinn, who, again, gets unlucky. He's just not, he does find a haste at least, but not going to be able to play with it just yet.
He's fine to get himself out. Outsiders, meanwhile, they are going to find Yawar. Oh, Yawar, he waveformed right into him. That is so unfortunate. Great smoke timing there from Outsiders, John. They had a great Observer ward. Keeping tabs on Yawar, and that's a very cheeky Observer. Hard one to catch out there for the side of Sonics.
Yeah, they've been really good with the vision. Some of that's already been rewarded, but their vision around the triangle, it's enabled this movement up, and they're still going to run up here. No, there is an ops to watch, though.
Yamich going to be around. Dispose is out. MSS trying to at least find one. They might get Yamich out of this. MSS, he'll keep going for a run with the Shallow Grave out. Maybe he does manage with the TP, and will do so for now. How much can they clean up, though? Fada is going to go down. So it will be a 1-for-1 anyway. And I think Sonics will be decently happy with that, considering, again, they are in a position where they need anything they can get. And that'll be enough for them as long as everybody else gets their way out. But Outsiders not leaving this area. They really want to make sure nobody's farming this Radiant Triangle. Ben, maybe thinking about going on to Hakoda. We'll get started. They might have another kill on their hands. Snowball will be out. Aether Remnant will connect as well. Hakoda is going to drop, but here comes GPK. MSS in danger, should drop here. No Reaper Scythe available, but it won't be necessary as now Quinn. Can he get his way out? Oh, not quite. He's got no step charges. Shallow Grave will be there. Still no step charges available, but he can try to dissimulate. In fact, he finds a kill. Oh, GPK is going to drop on the Necrophos as now Yawar. Going to try and turn this one back the way of Outsiders. DM in trouble. Will be chased down by the Morphling, but is going to be safe for now as he makes a run towards the north side. But there's no helping coming. Sonics successfully punish the side of Outsiders who go way too far.
Yeah, they just cop a lot of damage from the tier 2. No Ghost Shroud coming up there from GPK, and just a little bit too low on the HP to play. So they find a punishment in Sonic's end. They are forced to rotate a lot more of their cores. Like, War is having to help these fights, but finding a couple of those kills is helping him catch up. It's just not allowing him to really gap close that network you have on Ramses.
Take the side. Not going to be enough this time for the Void Spirit. He'll be fine as GPK able to finish off the job. Ben barely going to get his way out. 7-13 now. Sonics still grouped up as a team, ready to go whenever. Top lane, however, DM not going to bother trying to chase down Leslau. Doesn't have the lasso available anyway, so can't really lock him down. Leslau, look kind of the back of Sonics right now, right? Like, he's the highest net worth on the team. He's playing the Timber. He's certainly in a position where he can start to frontline and fight for his team, and they might just need to continue fighting off the back of the Timber Saw.
Yeah, they just need to use this big, tanky target to kind of grab Outsiders' attention. They still haven't been paying attention to him, but he has been popping up at the right time in these fights. And his damage output is still great. You don't have spell immunity up just yet from Outsiders. No BKBs coming out on GPK or on DM, which, you know, can't fault them for it, although DM is building into one now. And that should help the cause up against that Timb. The Lotus Orb out from Leslau can also act as a really good way of saving and stalling. So you do have a lot more utility coming out and trying to help out your teammates here. And for Outsiders, doesn't feel like they mind too much. Like Ramses again is still farming. His Midas has paid off dividends considering how much free farm he has. Still number 2 in net worth right behind GPK. And it still doesn't feel like you have a clear answer for the jug just yet, all things considered.
Certainly doesn't, John. Jump in. Aether, rather, the Arcane Rune is picked up by Quinn, but that's all his step charge is gone. So Hakoda gonna go right into the kisses, onto that Void Spirit, and now DM gonna see the easiest lasso of his life. Hello, Grave. It'll buy a bit of time. You've got the Dissimulate available onto the high ground once again, but Quinn's gonna drop. Sure, you get the Arcane Rune, but not really worth your life, I don't think.
Nah, you sacrifice so much just to get that rune away from GPK. To be fair, it is a big rune for Necrophos. Lower cooldown Reapers mean potentially more stacks coming out. They are keeping track of Leslau up top, though.
They are. Leslau should feel safe without the lasso up, but the chase is ongoing. DM not going to leave this man alone. Even Hakoda finding Yawar, but trying to go for this kill on his own as a Snapfire. His team is behind, but they want to make the move in. Outsiders, we'll have to let Sonics go, and meanwhile, Sonics, they are going to smoke as 4. Keep in mind, you do have Reaper Scythe available. Could be a bit of a dangerous fight for Sonics to try and take, but they might even just relocate across the map here. Just use this smoke to try and sneak their way over to the bottom side of the map and keep that farm going. But they are going to use Quinn as bait. GPK has taken said bait, so maybe they can blow up this Necrophos, but he's just so tanky. This man is not dying right now. Not yet, that is. The Flame Break gonna knock them back. Sonics still trying to fight. Nice dispose onto the Timber. MSS is gonna drop. Leslau still trying to run, but the Reaper Scythe gonna lock him down and take him out. As Quinn trying to run. As his step charges available, will hold out for now. Instead, it's onto Yawar. They're gonna find the Morphling. It's not over yet. Damage will keep going. Quinn, he cops the Spirit Vessel dart. He's going down. Outsiders will just rush them. At smoke, wishful thinking from Sonics. A nice attempt, but they were not killing GPK.
Fata?
Fata's in trouble too. Why not make it a full team wipe here, John? It won't be though, not this time.
Oh. Yeah, no TP to cancel out from GPK, but Outsiders, they see prime opportunity for Ramses to come in. He TPs into that fight. They expend everything they had to just jump GPK. And he's just so durable. He's got the Sanj up, holding him down. It's a lot tougher. The durability is skyrocketing on that Necrophos. And for Sonics, it was all in. They had to try to find that kill. Didn't come out. We finally see the contribution of Ramses with his farm. Just the Maelstrom plus the Hyperstone into that Mjolnir is a ton of damage out with the Omni Slash. And there's just not enough saves to stop it here.
They got the blink up on Yamich, John. Oh, Quinn, he's not going to know yet. Dispose is there. Ramses, he'll move in, but there's no follow-up. Quinn's going to be all right. Cookie, not going to land either. 11k advantage, though, for Outsiders. They are just looking absolutely huge at the moment. You look at Dota Plus, John, and I hate to make the game even more depressing, but 96% the way of Outsiders.
Yeah, it's a tricky one for Sonics. If you do manage to find a lot of farm on Yawar, it does still feel playable. Fata,
Probably not making it out. He'll delay a bit.
Kisses as well.
I mean, why not? I don't think Outsiders think they need it at the moment, John. EPK bot lane gonna chase down Leslau. It's like Leslau's gonna be okay. Quinn. Oh, mid lane.
Boy.
Lasso's out. Cookie there to follow up. He's gonna drop. It's just too much of a tempo. It's so hard for Sonics to keep up now. As Outsiders, they'll chase down Leslau as well. They won't find the Timber, but GPK, he's just establishing dominance here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a Necrophos with Travels, Spirit Vessels, and Sanj, and he's just so tanky up front, and he knows he's just not dying. There's no big burst damage coming out from Sonics. Even Leslau right now with a Timber Chain and the full complement of his spells isn't enough to really handle that Necrophos, and they're just playing it perfectly. 720 right now on the scoreboard, 13k lead out for Outsiders. Ramses just free farming the entire game for the most part outside of that one fight. It's just not enough net worth. Like, you do have certain items coming out. Yawar, again, going into the BKB might feel a little bit more durable up front, but the BKB doesn't save you from Lasso. If they find a way to break the Lincolns first, get the control afterwards, or, pop the Lincolns before BKB, you still have a pretty good way of catching in that Morphling. We're still not at that point where MSS has his blink up on the Tusk for saves. Slowly coming up, but not quite there yet. And you can see Outsiders just playing tag. Yamich is very confident with rebounding forward, forcing Quinn to use spells.
Oh, what a scan.
GPK just holding bot.
What a scan here, John. They know Leslau's in the tree line. Do they want to go for it? Cookie forward. Leslau, realizing he probably has been scattered out, is going to back his way out. But the pings are there. They are not going to be able to catch the Timber, however. We'll look at the group up here. Outsiders. Bottom side of the map, want to try and rush into that Radiant jungle. Smokey's going to be out, GPK. He'll play bait for the team. He's a very tanky boy, but they're going to try and burst him down, and they've got him. Oh, that's a great start here for the side of Sonics. It's MSS. He might drop. In fact, they found Leslau. Oh, it was looking so good, but it might turn into something quite bad here for Sonics. Leslau tries for the TP out, but is not going to make it. They are still going to lose 2 for 1, but at least they find the Necrophos. We find out it's possible to kill him, John.
Yeah, it takes everything, though. They have to get everyone on top of him and blow all their spell to just kill that one hero and just provide such a big window for Outsiders to respond. And they were grouped around accordingly very well to get that done and still find a lot more out of it. They trade 2 for 1. It's still a massive kill for Sonic, though, considering the net worth of GPK. And if they can maybe punish that overconfidence of Outsiders 2-3 more times, that's when the network should sort of stabilize. You start to get a lot more play coming out from Leslau and from Ywar. The BKB still has, again, decent enough timing considering the state of the game here for Ywar. For Quinn, once he has Ags, considering that Outsiders don't really have that many BKBs, that's going to be massive in the middle of these fights as well. But with a DD rune out for Outsiders, it's straight into Roche. They are spotted by the scan. Sonics has to kind of move in quick if they want to contest, though.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of pointed it out, John. DD rune on Ramsey's gonna make life very easy here in terms of taking down that Roshan. Basher up now on Ramsey's as well. Even more control to come the way of Outsiders. At very least, you do have the blink up on MSS, so a bit more save potential here for the Tusk. There's Aegis up on Ramsey's. Game got even more challenging now for the side of Sonics. Do I say that, John? The win probability is still sitting at the same thing, so they haven't gone any further. GPK, gonna try after Ywar. They've got him. Then
oh my god.
they've even got the Death Seeker now to break the Lincolns on Ywar. Outsiders, even more. Lasso out. They got Fada. No hesitation from DM, who happily lasso the Dazzle every single time. And Sonic, they don't have buybacks on either of those two heroes.
The respawns are fairly short, though, but that's more than enough time for Outsiders to pierce into that high ground with how much damage Ramses does in these fights, and they find more.
Yeah, great dispose out. Quinn, not going to cop the follow-up stun, though, is going to survive, but my god, the amount of damage being pumped out by this Spirit Vessel by GPK. He just can't stick around. Tier 3 is going to go down. Outsiders, they'll go for a bit more. They've still got that Aegis. MSS now also being caught out, but does have Snowball. He wants to buy a bit of time for himself. They jump in, Quinn. The damage out onto Ramses, but not quite enough to really even think about taking him down. The mid lane of Barracks to go down here. Outsiders very happy with that. We'll back off, and still plenty of time on that Aegis to come back high ground.
Yeah, they just clear out at least the melee rack. Sonics, though, gonna have to try to look for punishment. Smoke out from them. They don't have the best vision to spot where Outsiders are, and they're going to have to make a bit of a walk to try to find the thing. Outsiders in a good spot to break that smoke, and they get the scan here as well.
They will. GPK is going to get jumped. Can they blow him up again? The Necrophos is gone. A great start here for Sonics, but can they keep it up? Yamich is gone as well. MSS, he will drop first for Sonics. As Ywar is being chased by Ramses. A nice bash, another nice bash.
What?
Ywar still trying to run. Will still be able to wave form out. BM's got Lasso in 3 seconds, though. But they aren't going to keep going. Not without GPK and not without Yamich. Or will they? Ramses, another bash out on Leslau. Up in again from Quinn, seeing the spin is gone. Will try out the Hakoda, and they'll find a third target. Sonics, oh, they might even find Ramses here on that Juggernaut. But now, though, Ramses going to be able to outrun them. But a great fight for Sonics this time around.
They get a lot out of that smoke. They find a punishment onto GPK, who still doesn't have anything to kind of pop off that control. No BKB coming out on the Necro, still just reliant on the stat resist. The respawns are fairly short. Age is still up for quite a little bit more time here. 2 minutes left for Outsiders. They might be able to make a play off the back of all those expended spells and BKBs now.
Outsiders, oh, they know Yua's there. That's the Morphling. DM, he'll be in range. Yua is going to have his Lincolns broken, but the lasso was committed for that Lincolns. But they found Quinn anyway. You don't get the Morph. You find the Void Spirit anyway. MSS drops as well. The lasso was wasted. I mean, that's the one positive here for Sonic.
Yeah, no Treadle Lasso for a while. Well, nothing like a Octarine yet for DM to drop that cooldown, and still a ways off from his levels to really have the uptime to get aggressive. But, yeah, not the biggest deal in the world. They still have Aegis running on Ramsey, still clear out the last outer tower from the side of Sonics. And for Sonics, the BKB from Yuar has been impactful. It's allowed him to kind of play a little bit more, but he needs a lot more to come out from his morph. Going for the Scotty next. Might be able to find it. They're just keeping track of him every single time. DM travels down. It does have the Force Staff to Lincoln's break, but again, no lasso for a bit longer. And for Outsiders, the Aegis is starting to take away here, Mike. Only a minute left, so probably not enough time to go for a high ground play. They are inching closer towards an item up for Ramses, though. Does look like he might be, what is it, Ags or perhaps Scotty coming out here. Gonna be big for the jug with a spin.
Certainly will be. Another big thing here, John. Quinn is caught out, but Shallow Grave is there. Snowball was committed to try and save, so MSS is going to have his life gone, I believe. Let's dispose this out from a mile away with that Aether Lens. Quinn, oh, he's not out of danger yet here, John. He'll dissimulate and he'll be okay. Outsiders still finding one for their trouble. Ramses, maybe a bit too far, might lose the Aegis and will do so. But Quinn, dropping low, still saved by the Shallow Grave. In goes DM, however, with the lasso, really just wanting Fada. And we'll find the Dazzle. They go for Leslau now. Fades away from the Timbersaw, but Sonics will be playing 3v5 for this top lane defense. Dua will make the jump in, dispose of his own on that Morphling. Quinn onto the Necrophos, but it's not going to be enough. A nice cost back out from Yamich. Ramses will cop the Walrus Punch, but now they've got MSS. The Tusk will be saved by Shallow Grave. Ada once again working overtime on this Dazzle. And after the tier 3 tower, that's going to be enough for Outsiders. They don't have the Aegis up on Ramsey, so they will play it carefully. Maybe just wait out the next Roshan attempt.
Yeah, they've got the room to get that done. They can keep every lane shoved in. Really good play from Ramses, though. He only had, what, maybe half a minute left in the Aegis. Jumps right in, gets it expended, gets value from it anyway, and they find an objective off the back of it. Still, some timings being met here by Sonics. Quinn with the Ags, going to be huge to deal with a lot of the heroes on Outsiders. Only the BKB up on DM. No such thing yet for Ramsey. So that silence is going to be one great way to catch off the Jug, especially if they aren't around to kind of try to save him with, say, the Dispos here. Sonics will try to make use of it with a smoke. They are just running up north here, though, in the top lane. Outsiders aren't anywhere near close. I think the lack of vision from Sonics is starting to hurt them. Probably just going to have to get this down as a ward run.
There's going to be a smoke-on-smoke scenario here, John. You got to ward this down quick. Outsiders. Well, they're heading down bot anyway, so it looks like they want to try and set up the bottom racks now. Maybe just try and use one of these heroes as bait. Perhaps GPK, who has been baiting quite a bit for his team, and he'll head over, get within vision of that creep wave. We'll see if Sonics want to try and take this bait. Yeah, just forcing the creep wave in. Sonics, they're not even going to respond to it yet. We'll just hang around the top lane and keep that farm going. And it seems like Outsiders in the end not going to commit for the high ground anyway. They'll just go back for the outpost for now.
Yeah, but they've got DM in a nice sneaky spot. If someone does come in to defend, can go for the lasso play. And guess what? His favorite target shows up. Vata doesn't have vision of him, but if he just plays poke on that creep wave, he's probably dead.
They're out, Vata. Again, not under vision here for the bat. Even Quinn gonna show up now. Very, very scary moment here for Sonics. DM just waiting for the creep wave. Quinn cannot stay around here. He's going to show eventually. DM, Firefly immediate lasso is going to be there. GPK's out with the Reaper's Scythe as well. And Quinn, he just gets absolutely deleted. Great patience there from DM and the rest of Outsiders. They knew someone was eventually going to show up, and they just used the creep wave to bait them in.
Big pick off to find. It's been it's overall been a slow game for Sonics, but even Quinn still stuck at level 16 on that Void Spirit at 31 minutes in. Like, he doesn't even have his max out Astral Step. It's a rough go for Sonics right now. The investment is kind of all in. You're really on you are, and to an extent, Leslau. Timbersaw is still allowed to build up. Ags on the menu here for Leslau, and they find one on Hakoda.
Or at least find something. You know, again, any kill's a good kill right now for Sonics. They'll take what they can get right into the outpost as well. To be fair, though, Outsiders, they only seem interested right now in going after the Roshan attempt, and Roshan is still going to be 2.5 minutes away at least, so it gives plenty of time for Sonics to try and get some farm going and try to find a way to be able to fight back here against Outsiders. And what would be the way to fight against Outsiders here, John? What do they really need?
Where they've been most successful is just finding that pick off on anyone from Outsiders that oversteps their bounds. So whether it be GPK, if they maybe get some good forward vision down and catch Ramses, again, with the Ags up on Quinn, you have instant control. There's no BKB. Well, now Ramses does have the BKB in his backpack. If he did that maybe 2 minutes ago, that would have been your prime target. Now Ramses does have a way of at least having an item to break off from that silence and just kind of fight back now. So for Sonics, I don't know. Your best bet is still pickoffs, because that's where your lineup shines. In terms of team fight, you don't have the best control. Neither does Outsiders, mind you, but Outsiders has much more potent single target control. With the lasso, with the sight, even the dispose is massive. And that's something that just Sonics can't quite match up on.
PK, he's in, but his team's right behind him. Dispose, not going to be there from Yamich. In fact, he might drop a lasso. Has caught out the Void Spirit. Oh, they'll get another. There goes Sparta as well. Reaper's Scythe, no hesitation as Yawa's taking the whole brunt of the Omni Slash. Ramses just bashes him up. Yawa's going to try waveform TP up, but they found him. Not quick enough though. He's okay. Leslau is not. 4 down, Yawa the only survivor. Mega creeps incoming, they call it. They know they've had enough. There's no coming back in this game number 1 here for Sonics. They'll have to try again for game number 2. But a very decisive victory for Outsiders.
Yeah, they play spectacularly well. They come in with a really strong draft. They take care of some of those key picks that Sonics wants to go back to. And to be fair to Sonics here, they go with their comfort picks, right? They go back to that Quinn Void Spirit, expecting it to have a great time. Even picking it up against the Batrider, which at that point they weren't quite sure if it was going to be offlane or mid, and did end up being the offlane. So Quinn did have a much more playable lane, but even from that factor, how Outsiders play has just been really strong. They just group up 3 heroes mid by 5-6 minutes, and they stay mid for like the next 3 minutes. It forces a 6-man mid, frees up the side lanes, and Ramses and DM always excel when it's a solo play, solo lane. They just find all that farm. There wasn't enough to counteract them. They had a great lane with Jug versus Timbersaw, no kill threat onto the Jug there solo. And they just managed to build up. They have these great pick-off heroes that they just run with very well. And all of that control was just relevant until late game. They had ways of piercing through BKBs. They had the mobility on their side. For Sonics, it was kind of just dependent on Quinn. He hits a decent Ags timing. They tried to smoke up on Sonic's end, but they don't manage to find that big kill. And they don't really hunt Ramses. He was just free farming for basically the entire game.
All right, John, well, with that, we are going to have to set off to a very short break. But, of course, right after that break, we'll be back for Game 2's draft between Sonics and, of course, Outsiders. We'll see you then.
Radiant's top barracks are under attack. Radiant's top barracks has fallen. Dire victory.
Power can be found in any number of places. Scientists will tell you that it comes in newtons. Gamers will say that it can be found in silky skills. We will say that the power lies in real thrills. In the play with perfect ping. In the runes and crystals. In every frag and gank. In your personal winnings. Lock and load for PGL Arlington.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are in for our second game draft here between Sonics and, of course, Outsiders. It's MLP Dota and Dronix5 once again. Jonathan, game one of quite a decisive victory, I want to say, for the side of Outsiders. It just didn't really feel like at any stage of the game they were in trouble. I'm going to ask you, John, where do Sonics need to change things up, at least in terms of draft, to try and give themselves a chance to tie out the series here against the Outsiders side?
I'm not sure if it was entirely the draft that was the issue. Maybe you could argue that it took a little bit too long for them to play off the back of, say, MSS, as Blink Time is kind of stalled out, but it was really the playstyle. Outsiders forced 3 heroes mid every single time for at least 3 minutes, freeing up the side lanes, and considering how DM and Ramses play, they just managed to farm like crazy. They also protected Ramses really well, playing almost a 4v5 and still finding the pickoffs they want, whereas Yawar was forced to join in all those engagements, so the build-up on the Morphling was also completely stalled out. We've got to see Sonics adjust to the playstyle, and that takes a little bit more finagling than would anywhere else instead of a draft adjustment. So we'll see if they can get that done as we are into the draft here, Mike. And you see Sonics just kind of prioritizing again the Ramses here, taking care of the TA. Outsiders just sticking to their guns. They know Sonics loves to pick up the Winter Wyvern, take it away as well. For Sonics, though, I mean, you ban out the TA, you maybe ban out another Ramses here, let's say Nature's Prophet, for example, or maybe you respect ban something like the Necrophos out from GPK. That still leaves so many options for Outsiders. And the Marcy was also massive from Yamich, so I'd say it gets a little bit tough. I don't see any big bans that can really stop Outsiders. They take care of the puck, which again leaves that Marcy, leaves the Doom, leaves the Batrider that Outsiders all love to run.
It certainly does. I think if you are Outsiders, you are probably just going to go back to that first pick Marcy, because Yamich was doing a real darn good job on it very, very hard to play against. Just that dispose and rebound, the mobility, the disable. It's just a disgusting hero right now. And
5 seconds
of
remaining.
course, Outsiders would love to try and abuse it one more time. One more ban to go from themselves, though, before we can continue with these drafts. They're going to get rid of the IO once again. Fair enough, not wanting to allow MSS that hero. Sonics, I think if I remember correctly, last game around, they went for the first pick Dazzle. Well, they went Dazzle somewhere along the line, and I'm wondering, do you think Fada wants to go back down that route? Because it did feel a bit rough. For
10
Fada, at the very
seconds
least, like,
remaining.
yeah, Shallow Graves were great. It just didn't seem to make any difference.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I think that's with Outsiders just adjusting way too well to that Dazzle pickup. Sonics will open up with a Timber Saw for Laslau once more in the off lane. He was doing some really good damage, but it did feel like he needed more supports to play with. Like, MSS was probably his best bet. Again, the blink timing's a bit stalled out. Quinn had a really rough time mid.
10 seconds
So
remaining.
I think the key thing for Sonics now is when you see Outsiders going for that
5
3v3
seconds remaining.
mid, you might actually just want to throw the Timber Saw in there. Because at that point, Lessa was actually fairly durable. He was just sticking to the side lanes. I think he did have a much tankier front line there to break up that fight. You get a lot of impact and value from that Timber Saw. So we'll see if that's something Outsiders will do or if that's something Sonics will adjust to once more as Outsiders. And we talked about it a bit. Marcy does come out for Yamich. He played a
10 seconds
fantastic
remaining.
Marcy game last time. Opens up a lot of possibilities for Outsiders. If they
5
seeing the
seconds
Timber Saw, they
remaining.
could kind of opt for the Batrider once more. The Necrophos, all pretty damn good up against that hero. And the possibilities are actually fairly open here.
But they are. Unsurprising, though, they do go back into the Marcy. And second pickup, they're going to go into the Death Prophet this time. Oh, fair enough. Just, again, the very strong potent hero in the laning stage allows you to set a really nice pace here for Outsiders. Great pulse potential and just everything else. It's a great hero overall. And another Spirit Vessel carrier as well if you want for Outsiders.
10
Against the
seconds
Timbersaw,
remaining.
I think the Death Prophet has a very, very nice time. Sonics, on the other hand, how do they want to try and respond to this?
I mean, that should be our DM hero on the off lane. The Batrider ended up being the DM hero and was picking the second pick of the first phase as well. So I expect they might try to flex it a bit with GPK potentially playing it, but on the off lane, Marcy Death Prophet is a pretty strong lane already. Sonics might be able to find, say, a hero that doesn't mind that as much. I'd say the Juggernaut we saw from Outsiders for Ramses kind of fits in well for Sonics, but you don't want to lock in 2 cores in the first phase. So you might want something with more hold, maybe a support that can play with your Timber Saw. Lion tends to play really well with Timb. In the off lane, you got really good hold, really good burst damage. That can kind of help you up against the Marcy as well. As when you see her jump in, Hex is going to stop the dispose for the most part. Instead, they go with a Batrider for themselves. So going with what seems to be 2 cores out for Sonics already, there's maybe a little bit of potential for a Batrider support of the old days, but that's really not too frequently visited. So I'm keen to see what Sonic's plans. That should be our Quinn hero at this point.
5 seconds
And again,
remaining.
maybe they're expecting something like the DP mid, which Batrider can kind of deal with all right. So yeah, kind of open, and it does at least remove that from the hands of DM, who did have a fantastic time last time around.
Oh, absolutely. But now they're going to have to go back into the ban phase, though. I mean, sure, you deny the Batrider off from Outsiders. I don't think they're going to mind too much. I mean, you were kind of pointing out heroes like the Doom that
10
DM likes to
seconds
play, and
remaining.
I mean, he might even be running the offlane Death Prophet for all we know. So
5 seconds
we'll see
remaining.
how these next ban stages go. Outsiders, I mean, they might just want to focus on some support ban outs here. Considering you've already got 2 calls, but it seems like they are going to focus on the UR heroes. And we did see last game around, UR felt the need to go back to the Morphling, which was, yeah, it's not a very strong character to say the least right now. And obviously just never was able to take off. So why not just really just nail down on the UR heroes and make it so he has to choose something that might be a little bit out of meta and a little bit out of comfort for the man.
Just force him to go into some of those more awkward picks. It's kind of
10
hard to
seconds
telegraph what
remaining.
core you'd want, though, from Sonics in the past one right now, because they kind of went
5
all
seconds
in
remaining.
with 2 cores, or although, again, a very slight chance that, say, MSS plays a Batrider, but Batrider Timber Saw lane doesn't sound the most amazing. It can be pretty heavy, but it sounds fairly greedy as well. So, again, should just be 2 cores, but it feels weird to say that for Sonics because they tend to protect the Quinn pickup until the second phase. So I'm wondering if they are actually going left field with a Batrider support and kind of making outsiders think pretty damn hard about that. If it is a Batrider support, again, expecting it for MSS, Timbersaw Batrider lane's nice. You don't really have anything to stop that from outsiders from being effective. There might be room for something like an Abaddon 5 for outsiders, but we don't tend to see too much Abaddon. At least you and I don't tend to see it too much in the matches we've casted here.
Yeah.
But could be one way to counteract
10 seconds remaining.
for outsiders. And for Sonics, they lose the access to Invoker, so kind of spreading out the ban. Surprised that Sonics themselves banned out the Faces Void, as it does feel like you can kind of play with that on Sonic's end with the Timbersaw, and to an extent the Batrider can at least give a little bit of damage in the area as well. You still have a lot of room on your additional support to kind of play into that. So I feel like the bans from Sonic, so is again just leaving all those possibilities out for outsiders still there. Doom is still up if they want that, and just kind of shift GPK onto the Death Prophet, give DM his Doom once more. And they ban out the Ramses Jug, so picking Nature's Prophet and Timbersaw is still really awkward, but that possibility is still there. And there's still decent enough comfort for the side of outsiders to fall back to, like Ramses. I mean, he has also played the Pause 1 Doom a couple of times, so you could go that route. CK into Timbersaw is not as great. Bloodseeker still in the pool, and we did see Sonics ban that out last time.
Yeah.
Maybe outsiders could fall into that. Really good against Timbersaw and Batrider here as well.
It certainly is. It does feel like a decent pos one to go back to if you did want for outsiders. One ban to go before we do get to find out exactly where these drafts are headed. They'll get rid of the Bloodseeker themselves. Okay, so just not wanting to run it. They don't care for the pos one Bloodseeker, Jonathan. Instead, maybe a third pick support to come here for outsiders. You've already got the Marcy, probably going to be a position 5. Could also be a pos 4.
10 seconds remaining.
What else do they reveal here? I mean, you do have the Dazzle pick as well for outsiders, like against the Batrider Timber. It doesn't seem like such a bad pick if outsiders wanted to go into the Dazzle themselves. Obviously, Lasso, rather the Shallow Grave, very good against the Bat. Poison Touch, very good against the Timber during the laning stage. Well, they'll have a think about it for now.
Quincy Crew's turn to pick.
Okay,
All right.
I like it.
Yeah. We talk about the sustained supports, and we said, we always say Oracle's kind of the dead one. That's made its appearance here, and it is very strong against Timbersaw and Batrider. Blocking off the magical damage is huge. False Promise to kind of save your core here, just allow him to hit. This does allow outsiders to maybe consider something like, say, Troll is what we tend to see. Maybe, again, Terrorblade could be something that slots in there as well, though into Batrider it's kind of annoying. Sonics go back to the Enchantress. So they've got a really nice, solid support to get some dispels off, remove some of that save from outsiders with the enchant. So you're feeling pretty good in that front. And just very lane dominant. They go into the Tiny here as well from Sonic. So, it's pretty open whether or not you want to run, say, a Fata Ench, an MSS Tiny, and then go with a Quinn Batrider. You could run the Quinn Tiny instead and have something like a Fata or MSS Enchantress or Batrider kind of going for the support bat. It's open enough. It does make it mildly awkward, but the Tiny does provide that jump in, that burst damage to play with, and if the timing on that blink is fast, if it is a core, then things can go off a lot smoother for Sonics in comparison to the last game where they were reliant on Quinn's Ag's timing on that Void Spirit, and it did come on, but it came on a little bit too late for that game, so the blink timing's a little bit quicker here.
Outsiders, 4th pickup now. They see the Ench, they see the Tiny. Need those cores to come out now. Outsiders, maybe just leave the Ramses hero to last and give something over to GPK. See, this time around, probably won't bother going into the Necrophos because you do have some very nice counters in the Ench Tiny.
Quincy Crew's turn to bat.
They'll go Ursa instead for Ramses for now, and that's a great Timbersaw counter. Seen it many, many times. In fact, there's not really much in the way of dealing with the Ursa this game. Assuming he gets the Enrage off in time for the Lasso or even the Enchant, none of it's going to matter. It's a very strong pickup from outsiders once again.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it combines really nicely with the Oracle. You've got a good hold when the Ursa does jump in with the Oracle root, so it looks pretty potent. Your False Promise on Ursa is always good as well. You've got all the saves you could want on the Oracle, and this does leave them a lot of room to kind of figure out what Sonics is trying to do with her picks. Like, Sonics will have to reveal something, either the War Hero or the Quinn Hero, depending on if they fall back to something like, say, Pause 1 Tiny.
10 seconds
You
remaining.
can adjust on outsiders in kind of throwing that DP mid or off lane as well in
5
their last
seconds
pick.
remaining.
And Sonics are just banning out some stable bans again, just preventing any Enigma play. They don't have the best ways of canceling a surprise black hole if that does come out for DM on the off lane. And Outsiders just taking care of some stuff that kites the Ursa. Seeing Terrorblade banned, Deuce already banned out earlier. What else kites around here? It's kind of awkward to say, but Sniper kind of kites out around the Ursa, so
10
could
seconds
be
remaining.
a decent ban for Outsiders as well. Maybe a ranged core. Luna's there as well that we've seen Uar play a couple of times. Fits in decently enough with Sonic's draft, so that could be a way Sonic. So I just don't see a real strong pause one to kind of close it out. Just considering how,
Dire team
considering that you have the Ursa Oracle combo, there's just really nothing to stop that all too much from Sonic's end.
No, even during the laning stage, it's just such a potent combination between the Oracle Ursa. Later on, the Oracle DP, very, very potent. It's just very, very tough already for Sonics to try and burst any of these heroes down.
10 seconds
Drafting from
remaining.
outsiders, pretty clean so far. I wonder how they finish this off as well. Like, do you assume it should be a mid DP, or do you think maybe they'll go the offlane DP route and pick something else for outsiders? And hell, even with the Bat Rider, like, do we see Quinn picking up the mid Bat, or do you think it's an offlane? Or it can't be an offlane Bat because you got a Timber, so it must be the mid Bat Rider here for Sonic.
I think it's a support bat. Like, I honestly feel like they're going to be last picking either Quinn or Uar and running the Tiny as a core on safe lane or mid, and giving probably, again, Fat or MSS the Bat Rider or the Ench, which, and that's where the awkwardness of the draft comes in. Their hold just doesn't feel amazing, especially in the laning phase. They could still, say, run Bat Rider mid, a Fata Enchantress, and an MSS Tiny, but then that also feels a bit greedy, and it still doesn't relieve you of your issues. A mid Bat Rider for Sonics, Outsiders can still adjust themselves with a mid pickup here. There's still a lot of long-ranged heroes on the hand. Something like a Lina could slot in for Outsiders if that is the case. Gives them more burst, more reach, plays nicely with your physical output here, and gives you a little bit more magical burst as well to deal with, say, the Timbersaw pre Code of Defiance. And they will go with Phantom Lancer. That should be our War hero. Now the question is Quinn Bat Rider or Quinn Tiny in the mid, and they'll go with a Leshrac close out. Outsiders, we've seen them run a lot of that Lesh before on mid for GPK. Maybe not as much here in the major, but it is something they fall back to. Ties in well with the Oracle. That's your AoE control or AoE clear to deal with a Phantom Lancer as well. Laning up against the Bat Rider of Quinn, not the worst lane in the world for a Leshrac as well. Like, that is something you can fight back on. Although level 1 to 4, level 4 spike for Bat Rider can be pretty strong, but GPK should be able to understand the ins and out of that matchup, being a mid Bat Rider player himself.
Yeah, it seems like a very strong draft though from outsiders, and yeah, I mean, this could be a rough one for Sonics. It just feels like there's so much that they have to get done this game to be able to really even give themselves a chance to allow this PL to get out of
10
control.
seconds remaining.
A lot of pressure on Quinn, a lot of pressure on Leslau to set the tempo for the game, and
5
they've just got to
seconds
make
remaining.
sure they somehow don't win out, or rather lose out these lanes. We'll see how it all pans out. I think we both agree outsiders probably came out with a superior draft going into this one, John, but only time will tell, because we are going to head into game number 2 very soon.
Yeah, I think the one shining light for Sonics is that the PL lane up against Death Prophet is pretty good for the PL. It's not the worst thing in the world. DP can kind of harass you back with creep swarm, but the plays you have with the Siphon isn't that great up against a Phantom Lancer, and Fata should be able to give you a lot more room there. So you should expect a little bit better form coming out from your War. And even though he's counteracted by the Leshrac, he can handle the Ursa, unless Ramses goes for something like Battle Fury. But Battle Fury is such a slow build-up for Ursa. It just feels like you miss out on that early timing. Doesn't feel like there's any need to play that farm game as well with the Oracle combo, so I don't expect Ramses to go that greedy. If he's feeling himself, he might go for the Midas once more, which isn't too bad in Ursa. I wouldn't be surprised if he outright wins his lane somehow, considering up against a Turnbusaw. It's a little bit back and forth. It does tend to feel a little bit better for Ursa as you get the Fury swipes up, but it's not exactly a washout. Turnbusaw can kind of adjust, and I expect Laszlo to understand the ins and outs of that matchup fairly well. So I'm keen to see how Yawar stacks up against Ramses this time, because again, laning-wise, Yawar should be able to manage the Death Prophet a lot better than his Morphling versus Batrider lane last time around.
Let's see how it all pans out, John. Game number 2, Sonics again. Bit of a rough affair for game 1, but we'll see if they can turn this series around and force a tie, as tips are already coming out here from both these sides. Unsurprising, they've been doing this quite a bit between each other. There's a lot of respect between these two teams, though. As side of Outsiders, John, they might go for a very early level 1 team fight. 5-man smoked up, trying to make their way into that Radiant Triangle. They will successfully get there, and I believe Outsiders last game around did give first blood quite early on. Might be a very similar story if Sonics aren't too careful. Here we go. MSS, do you want to run back towards that triangle, sir?
30 seconds to battle.
For now, they will hold out and see if they do want to go there, but very, very scary times for Sonics for sure.
Yeah. Outsiders, they've had really good level 1, as you mentioned there. Lots of stunts, lots of control. They might force a fight over the rune, but it does look like Sonics have adjusted. They're not going to really go too ham here, and that should lead to an even start in bounties, at the least.
The battle begins.
There we go. Leslau going to show himself. Still a lot of heroes around. Leslau might have to go for the level 1 chains, as Fortune Zen does fly towards the supports instead, but Leslau is the target. Oh, that's great timing from the stun. Oh, mid-chains. He's going to drop. Yamich will take the kill. Another great start here for Outsiders, and perfect stun timing here from GPK.
Yeah, I'm surprised Sonic still chose to push up. They had a great read. They knew that's where Outsiders wants to play on that first rune, and they still force it, and they get punished for it. Another good start for Outsiders, picking up the first blood. It does go on to Yamich, but you don't mind that too much. Taking a look at that top lane, of course, you do have Hakoda on that Oracle with Ramses on the Ursa. They are up against MSS and Laszlo on the Tiny, and Turnbusaw. You can play aggressive here for Sonics. Level 3, level 4 is when you start to feel really good, but you have to kind of measure yourself up against the Ursa. If he does manage to get a good amount of Fury swipes off and get some holdout from the Oracle with Fortune Send, it can feel dicey, and you can see MSS trying to go for the pull, but Hakoda just looking to equalize that creep pull in the jungle here, pulling all the way back.
Oopsie. Hakoda.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. They're ignoring the jungle creeps now. Look at this. These Radiant creeps, they don't care. These Wild-Ring Rippers, they try to get involved in the fight, but completely ignored here by the Radiant creeps. Hakoda is eventually going to drag them back towards MSS. If you're Ramses right now, you have no idea what's going on. What's my pos 5 doing?
Well, he's going to be free farming at the least. You are getting the EXP you want on Sonics, but it's not the smoothest process. Look at Laszlo as well. He's also going for the pulls. It's a merry-go-round of creeps here.
I mean, you don't want to play against Oracle or Ursa, so it makes enough sense. Like you just do not want to have to try and lane against this Ursa if you are this Timber. Maybe once you get a few reactive armor, but even then, it's just not a good matchup. You cop one Fortune's End, you're just as good as dead. So Outsiders, they're going to be able to secure the farm just fine here on Ramsey, so I think they'll be okay with it. We should have a look at the other lanes as well while we still have a chance. Of course, bot lane, Yamich and DM trying to chase down Fada, unable to do so. And so far for Yawar on the Phantom Lancer, he's having a very good time. Top of the CS board, no real pressure being applied against the PL. Unlike that Morphling game, at least for now, it's a decent start.
And this is to be expected. Yawar should have a really good lane up against DM. There's not much the Death Prophet can really do. There is some harassment that can go on with a rebound in this post once that's up. But Fada's done a great job of getting the attention on himself and just preventing that level to come out for Yamich. So a much stronger start for Sonics, at least in the safe lane. Yawar should be able to meet his diffusal timing here quite nicely. And the impact for DP might be put down a bit. Not finding as much farms you'd expect here for DM. And that timing into 6 is really important for the Death Prophet. Like, you do want to threaten the team fight, go into the push with that EXO, and that is something Outsiders plays around the timing of really well. And so DM's going to be key for a lot of that tempo.
Still 0-1, Outsiders. Still have that 1 kill score lead. All the lanes, though, are going much better for Sonics. Like, even Quinn in the mid lane, top of the CS board as well, on that Batrider. GPK, obviously, on the left track, being very cautious not to give an opening away for the Firefly to chase him down. I suppose for GPK, as long as he doesn't die in this mid lane, he'll be more than happy. It's the whole point. If the Batrider can't establish its dominance, it's really no point in the hero, as... Oh, he's going to be just fine. They might find Hakoda, though. Hakoda going to show up in the mid lane, trying to make sure the water rune does not go the way of Quinn, but is going to get caught out. Tossed back from MSS, right back into the Batrider, and Hakoda eventually is going to drop. Quinn, he'll be happy with that. Tips out immediately.
We get some good punishment. That's exactly what Quinn would want, off to a pretty damn good start on the Batrider here.
Bot lane.
Building into travel. Nope.
Barda should drop on the edge. DM eventually will have the damage, so bit of a trade across the map. Both supports going down. DM, he'll be satisfied with that.
Yeah, I still feel better on Sonics. Quinn getting the kill, it's a lot bigger than DM finding a kill in his lane, as the Batrider tempo is super big for Sonics, so you're happy enough, and you can see Outsiders have adjusted. They're not looking to group up mid. It's around this time they start to clump around there. Instead, it's Sonics that are constantly dragging supports. MSS is just watching this lane.
Yeah, toss back, GPK, he's a big target. Hands up here from MSS, and a very strong rotation from the Tiny. And ensure Quinn can secure another kill, and more tips coming up from Quinn. But don't use those tips too early, Quinn. You got to save some for later on.
Yeah, that's his second one, so got to hold on in the last tip for when they, find the Ancient. If it does maintain itself here. A good start for Sonics once more. 2-2, less than 1k lead going their way. The one issue that Sonics are having is controlling that lane from Ramses. He is still farming up quite nicely on the Ursa. Leslau, again, off to a slower start than you'd want, but the Timbersaw at least has the Arcane Boot, so spell spam is there. We are approaching the 6-minute mark, though, Mike, and that tends to be where Outsiders group up mid. They have Yamich camping around here with Hakoda trying to build some stacks, and this should be the point when they start to commit towards that GPK lane. GPK, though, behind an EXP, doesn't have 6. Full level above here is Quinn with the lasso threat, so there's a lot more play for Sonics now in the mid in comparison to Game 1.
Absolutely. A very nice start here for Sonics, that's for sure. But even now, Leslau top lane's really starting to dominate Ramses, as you are at that stage where the Timber just doesn't really care anymore for the Ursa. Always just chain away with the level 3 chains, and Ramses just doesn't want to stick around with the Ursa any longer. Again, a very, very strong start for Sonics. Sakota will eventually return back into the lane, so maybe you could try on Leslau, but chances are they're just not even going to bother. Just make sure Ramses does remain alive on the Ursa and remains very healthy.
Bot lane.
Jump in. DM, he's in danger. He tried to go for an aggressive movement on Yawar, but Quinn does rotate on the Batrider. Yamich now going to try and TP up, but won't make it. In fact, even Ramses in the meantime, dropping top lane to Leslau. As Hakoda is going to try to run his way up, but Leslau eventually should find him. Surely. Oh, no. Oh, he doesn't check the tree line. Very nice juke out from Hakoda. Still 3 kills across the map here. You've got to be satisfied as Sonics.
You're very happy. You're more than satisfied here. You mentioned get that stronger laning start. Outsiders just not getting the start they'd want. A bit of a slower move out. They've not been able to really maximize that Oracle Ursa lane. Not seeing the holds into aggression. And GPK is also not quite ready to play. It does have level 7 up on the Lesh and has the Arcane Boots up to sustain, but Quinn is just all over him. Quinn's more than happy to play into that.
Quinn's going to be a little bit careful, though. And GPK still does a hell of a lot of damage on that Lesh track and force Quinn away. Still definitely can't run into the Max Diabolic Edict and Pulse Nova at the same time. That's a very painful experience. So 5-2, very slight net worth lead here for Sonics. In a strong start this game, number 2. Outsiders, though, they are starting to group up. GPK, he's caught up in CS, now top of the board himself. But they will get unlucky with the power root. Fada is the one to take it on the edge, denying it away from the Leshrac, and had that haste rune, you would have been a very happy team as outsiders, but instead, back into the mid-tier 1 tower, they still managed to get this tier 1. Fada,
Dire's top tower is under
yeah, fortune's ended up, but is going to be just fine, and the outsiders, it may have been a slower start, John, but they still got a mid-tier 1 out of this. Still a pretty big win here for the Dire.
Opens up the jungle. Sonics does have some control over that bot jungle still with a forward tier 1, but not as much as you'd want. And that should allow outsiders now to make their move onto that bot tier 1. Exo popped here by DM. All the heroes in world clumped up, and the side of Sonics not going in for the defense, using the space elsewhere, just farming up, clearing out their own top tier 1 to even out just a bit more.
Mid lane though, Sonics, they will try to pressure a bit.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
See if the defense comes out.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
They may not feel comfortable trying and force the defense here in the mid lane. As outsiders still working on the bottom tier 1, do manage to clean that up, and now the TPs are incoming. So they certainly want to make sure this mid tier 1 tower will not drop the way of Sonics for free. It's not the greatest tower push either, just not going to be able to get the job done fast enough. Come on, you don't really have Leslau around either, who is top net worth on the board right now, so just not having the Timber definitely makes you feel a little bit more nervous trying to push in that mid tier 1. It's outsiders. They are going to run into Leslau. Dispose is going to be there from Yamich, and with all the magic damage, well, that top net worth leader, suddenly not so much anymore. GPK will take over once again.
Yeah, you don't have anything like that Hood of Defiance here for Leslau, so the output of GPK still feels amazing. In fact, Leslau is going for an early Kaya, which he does have on hand, but it's not going to do much for his durability, and I think considering how outsiders are playing, they are leaning heavily into that magic damage. They're not dragging Ramses out. One big thing Sonics is getting, though.
They're going to find Ramses here. That's a massive thing, John. In fact, Ramses, he's going to turn around. Quinn didn't bother trying for the lasso. Once the enrage was popped, he just couldn't even think about it anymore.
Alright, it's that matchup issue. That stat resist is huge. You always have to worry about the Oracle hanging on the side as well. False Promise is already up on Hakoda, so it's not the easiest game to just fully commit the lasso. They are going to try to commit for the tier 1, though.
They are. Sonics.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
You're just fine to do it this time around. Doesn't seem like outsiders really want to try and defend, but they might try to punish. It's a bit of a smoke out here from GPK and Hakoda, but they back themselves out as now Ramses. In vision, but Yamich going to give him that movement speed bonus with the rebound, and he's going to be just fine to back his way out. So Sonics still just less than 1k ahead. So having a decent game here against outsiders. That smoke really leads to... Oh, it might lead to something. Quinn, mid lane. Very deep farming position here from the Batrider, and he's going to get punished. Immediate tips out from Ramses. And the smiley face from GPK.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn was tipping out earlier, so you expect it back in kind. And they do at least, get the space out for Yor to hit the Midas. So your Phantom Lancer is going to be farming up very nicely, but whether or not it's as nice as Ramses hitting this Battle Fury timing fairly soon remains to be seen. It does feel like the Ursa is still going to be able to work on this a lot more, but outsiders do have to keep an eye on Yor. Again, much better game for him here. Second in net worth, right next to GPK. Once that Diffusal and Manta is up, it's going to be pretty hard to clear him out, and if he's allowed to farm into the heart, all that magic damage might not be enough to clear him out too.
Here we go, Radiant Jungle. Quinn, not again Quinn. He's going to go after Hakoda, but he can't deal with GPK right now, who's going to go for the Split Earth, but MSS will be there to try and protect us. Well, GPK, he does not give a crap. He wants that Batrider. Quinn, he's going to go for a run. The slows are there. Quinn, he should be just fine to back up. He's all right. MSS, luckily with the Avalanche, still save the day. The aggression is certainly starting to ramp up on outsiders, trying to make their way into that Radiant Jungle and slow down Yor on the PL. Meanwhile, top lane, Yamich might drop. Leslau will chase him down and eventually secure the kill. No problems here for Leslau and Quinn. They do get something for their trouble. The outsiders, they might have to sit back and relax for a little bit.
just keep that farm game up. Just finish that battle here, and Ramses got an item on top of it that should enable you to start playing off the back of the Ursa. And GPK also looking to build into what seems to be his Eternal Shroud. Fairly good against the Timbersaw and Batrider. Just helps you top up your mana issues as well. Again, for Sonics, this kind of game is actually playing in their favor. Their PLs keep building up. They're going to have a really good blink timing on MSS. Quinn's had a pretty phenomenal time going into his own BKB, so he's not going to care too much for the Leshrac at past that point. And you've got the Kai and Sanj already up on Leslau, so durability is up there. Might still feel like he needs a Hood of Defiance, but as long as they maybe burn down GPK with a Diffusal up on Yawar at that point, might not even be necessary to get additional magic protection here.
It may not be. Outsiders having a look around, trying to find something to do here.
Dire's top
Back into their own jungle they go. GPK, he'll lead the way, but Fana is going to be there to kind of lock them off and tank the get. Will do so. The biggest pickup at all here for Outsiders, but they'll take it. You would have much preferred to find Leslau, but again, Fana with the very good positioning to just tank the gank there for his Timbersaw. And yeah, they are still buying plenty of time for Yawar, because he did go that classic Midas build-up, and it is going to pay off the longer this game goes on. Against the Ursa as well, like Ramses, he's got the Battle Fury up, so there is some way of dealing with the PL, and naturally you still have a Leshrac on your side of things as well. I wonder if Outsiders are actually worried at all about this PL, whether they're just confident they'll be able to deal with him anyway later on.
I mean, it looks like they're not worried. Still feel like Yawar has decent enough scaling into all of that AoE, and the hard timing's going to be big, and you can kind of take care of the damage of the Lesh with your Diffusal. As long as you melt his mana down, it kind of kills him off. There is an itemization for GPK to counteract that. The Ags could be the way to go. You do see it sometimes in the Lesh. They find a pick off onto Yamich once more, just trying to farm up that blink, and considering how many times Yamich has died, he has made no progress to the blink, so a slower game for the Marcy this time around, and that stalled out blink timing prevents them to get too aggressive in Outsiders' end.
Does. Bot lane, GPK, or rather DM, they get jumped here, but Faith Edict is there from Hakoda to save, as Quinn maybe going too far now. GPK, he'll just move right in onto the Batrider. Lasso committed, but the false promise is going to save. There's now GPK, he can just run right down MSS. Leslau, he could try his absolute best to clean up, but it's pretty rough for him. He at least finds Hakoda. It's Yawar. Maybe he's the cleanup crew. Diffusal Blade is up, but he cannot continue chasing down DM. There's just too many heroes on Outsiders, and not enough for Sonics. So a 3-for-1 trade in the end. A very strong team fight for Outsiders once again, and Hakoda, all the tips just focused on Quinn.
Yeah, I mean, he tried to make that play. Again, it's not the easiest Batrider game to get that control off. Very good time, very good patience out from Hakoda to just get that false promise off, break the lasso, and just provide enough time for GPK to kill everyone off. Like, there's no stopping. They do lose Ramses. That's a pretty big pickup. Ramses staying around bot to farm, and that gives a lot more for Sonics. Even if they lose a lot of heroes, you slow down that big win condition. You're building up in your war. It's not the best news in the world for Outsiders. Certainly a good shot in the arm here for Sonics.
Yeah, there's certainly a pretty big pickup there by MSS. Very nice setup with the Blink Dagger. John, while we do have a chance as well, by the way, we did just get an update from our team that apparently there will be no tiebreakers today, as OG did end up 2-0ing Talon in their series, so no tiebreakers coming up either, which is, you know, depending on who you are, a little bit sad, because, you know, we all love tiebreakers, but you are. Bit of all chat there. Pick PL for the lag, he says. I mean, I guess that's one way to do it, you are. That's one way.
Yeah, it's, I mean, these two teams have been enjoying that all chat, and NA enjoyer as well thrown out. Of course, Sonics, they should be NA enjoyers. Hopefully the issues are sorted out.
Hopefully. Looks like they are. A bit more chat coming out here between these two as...
NA plus PL. What can you do?
I mean, he's not wrong, I suppose. He's not too wrong. Internet connections can be a bit unstable, but nevertheless, we'll be back in just a moment. And in we go. So who's really like leading this game, John? Like, in terms of net worth, it's still a very even kind of matchup, and win probability is pretty even as well. Sonic's at 52%. Who do you think's actually winning this game going into the mid game?
Feels like Sonics is going to have a lot more to play with. Like, with a BKB on Quinn, with how much output is on Leslau, it should be lined up their way. They do find Fata once more, as they say that, though. But again, not the biggest kill to find the Enchantress. The big issue for Outsiders is that Ramses is just not getting as much farm as he'd want on the Ursa. With the Battle Fury, he's still starting to lag behind in comparison to Leslau and to Yawar. And the Ursa does want to be on top of that. You're going to need a Blink. You're going to want maybe a Basher, maybe some Lifestealer BKB to kind of handle yourself in the middle of that. And still a ways off from most of that.
Big smoke, John. You are all alone right now. Outsiders just going to rush him. They've got the silence. They've got the disposed setup. They've got a very, very important kill for themselves here, Outsiders. On Fatih, one top tower they go. Nothing to stop them. It's really that easy on the PL.
Yeah, with that pick off, Ramses just goes into rush. You might find more here.
Leslau, he's another great pick-off, but he's got a Yule Scepter that he can use to purge off that silence. And instead, they really just want the Roshan here, Outsiders. You've got an Ursa after all, so it's quite a fast process. Ramses, he'll be very happy to take that first Aegis of the game. Blink up as well in the Ursa, so he can certainly look to get aggressive to boot. It does start to feel like Outsiders might slowly start taking over this game, number 2. GPK, he will TP bot. This could be an opportunity for Sonics to get a nice toss back into Quinn, and they'll find the Leshrac. Nice setup by MSS.
He's been getting work done with the Blink up, just allowing his team to get aggressive, finding these opportunities. And Outsiders don't really expect that. The angles MSS is finding is also pretty off kilter. Not something you really expect on Outsiders end. So they're playing off the back of that while keeping the game even. Net worth's even. Timings are lining up evenly. Yawar is starting to build into the heart though, and that's where things start to get a little bit scary. Again, you should be able to live long enough to burn through GPK's mana, and once that's gone, the Ursa with Battle Fury is one way to handle the PL illusions, but it doesn't feel like you'll handle it well. The kiting onto Ramses is going to be big.
Well, Ramses will make the jump in. Another Quinn will, but won't be able to find a setup here onto the Ursa. See, by the way, like I already mentioned, the tiebreakers aren't going to happen, so this does become somewhat of a show match now, doesn't it, between Sonics and Outsiders, because Outsiders have secured upper bracket now for the playoffs, and sadly Sonics are leaving the major. But regardless, I suppose that's why we're having a bit more fun now in this series.
Yeah, I mean, for Sonics, they did have to win game 1, so when they dropped that, it kind of put them out of contention. The only tiebreaker that remained was really, I think Talon was the only one if they managed to 1-1 on OG, but I think that didn't happen. Spoilers alert, check the other streams if you want to see. Still movement out here, Mike.
Absolutely. Towards the top lane they go. GPK trying to set up on Quinn, but it's all a trap as MSS is going to be there with the Avalanche toss. They will find Hakoda. GPK still in trouble, but still a tanky boy himself, as now Ramses shows up on the Ursa. They at least find MSS, and now the target's Quinn. BKB about to wear off. They'd love to go after that Pat Rider. They've got more tips ready for him. So pop the BKB on DM. It's all about the tips. Quinn, he's gonna drop. No tips out though, sadly. Outsiders feeling a little bit nice.
I think they must have run out. I know GPK is out of tips, so maybe the entire team just had too much fun earlier. Don't have any remaining. They do get the big kills, and that's a tip enough of itself. Finding Quinn, they only sacrifice Hakoda. It takes them a lot just to take out the Batrider. The Batrider is a very important target in these team fights, because the save out with a Fortune Sand along with False Promise is pretty damn big, but you just allowed all that turn to come out from Outsiders as well. You don't have enough to handle the rest of them after the fact.
Oh, you are. Mid lane being watched once again here by Ramses, but jump is not there. Damage. Ooh, what a dispose out. Oh, he stunned up 3 heroes. Barda's gone. There won't be enough follow-up though for the rest. And you really just can't give this guy Marcy. He knows exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, that was just sickening timing. He didn't go for the PL straight up. He dragged them all together. That's a nice stun. If they had GPK around, that would have been a big set of kills. And speaking of GPK, Bloodstone's up. Lots more sustain coming out with lifesteal in the middle of these fights, so he is extra durable despite the probability of him burning down from those peel illusions gets a little bit smaller. And 2K lead now for Outsiders, still not the biggest lead in the world, but you can feel the aggression coming out from this. They go for a smoke, instantly broken though.
Absolutely. Quinn being targeted here by Ramses, but we'll be able to BKB Firefly and just run TP away. GPK in the meantime looking for a Yule Scepter onto Leslau. Be able to find it either. Schneider still rushing the Radiant Triangle.
Dire structures are fortified.
Meanwhile, mid lane MSS also going to get jumped, but we'll be able to blink out just fine. Ramsey's unable to get that right click in to cancel the blink. Advantage here for Outsiders is, and again, disposes there onto the Ench Fada. Be able to heal up and run, but Ramsey's right in. No hesitation, but the Untouchable making it a little bit challenging. It won't matter though. He's still down. In they go. DM, BKB up. No fear in the world. Won't go all the way. Still a T2 tower standing. They don't want to dive too far here, Outsiders. PK. Only chip away with the Diabolic Edict onto that mid T2 tower. Onyx, they will still be around to defend. It just does expire, so maybe a bit of an opening now for the Radiant.
Yeah, they managed to stall out long enough, but it feels like they still need to play off the back of their control. Like, we haven't seen Quinn get off the biggest lacerates. It's been very hard for him to kind of find the angle considering the save on backline. Again, they had the right idea when they killed off Dakota first, although Quinn, speaking of...
Yeah, Lasso is there. Basher out though from Ramses. Gonna lock him down through the
Oh my
PKB
God,
and more smiley
really?
faces coming out. Oh, stop it,
Oh,
Ramses. They've already been
jeez.
kicked out of the major. That's enough.
They're just rubbing salt in the wound right now. Gonna go for that tier 2 push bot and looking for a bit of a fight up top here.
Yeah, Leslau.
Radiant's
Chase
bottom
down the Oracle. Damage is around for the dispose, and that'll be the follow-up stun to come out from GPK. Toss in Ramses. He'd love to get to that Timber Saw. They still find him anyway. Leslau goes down. MSS going to be okay to TP out. The 5k advantage now to the side of Outsiders. Really just nothing in the way of stopping them at the moment.
It's not quite there yet. Maybe once you have this blink up on Quinn, allowing him to find a backline with MSS again, instantly taking care of the Oracle, saving your lasso for either the Leshrac or the Ursa could be big. Easier said than done. You are slowly inching your way towards this hard timing for Yawar. It's gonna have more presence, although...
Here we go. You are. He's going to be okay.
I mean, it still tells you something how confident GPK is. He's running up, he's basically empty of mana, he doesn't care. Still wants to threaten Yawar, shove him away from farm. And for Sonics right now, again, blink timing of Quinn's gonna be big. They're gonna have to try to burst down the backline, take care of Hakoda, lasso up onto any core, and try to get the pickoffs from there. Their damage is there. Leslau can rip through heroes. Yawar is getting very sustainable on that PL, but they need to execute. And right now, Outsiders are the ones just running out around the map with the confidence to play with their strengths more than Sonics is.
Well, BKB up now and Ramses to make matters worse. You are. I mean, he's almost at the heart. He certainly needs that little bit of tankability, but even then, you kind of wonder if it's going to be enough. Mid lane, Yamich gets used up, but is just fine to walk away. There's just no follow-up to it. GPK, top lane may get caught by Quinn, but it doesn't seem like he's too confident to make the rush in. Quinn does stick around, but not going to lead to anything so far. As Sonics, they will smoke up. If you use Quinn as bait, GPK already going to rush him though. It's a bit too early. Quinn, you don't have the help. He'll pop the BKB. He'll try, but Ramses is there. They've got the bashes out and the tips are out immediately. MSS, he'll try onto Yamich, but it's just not going to matter. Harder down. Leslau, he's being held down. He'll chain right towards GPK and BKB up. Instead, into Yawar they go. Onto the PL. How does he get out of this one? Well, the answer is he probably just doesn't, John. He will drop back towards the south. They even found MSS. 4 down for the price of nothing.
Yeah.
Radiant's top
Just
tower
cleaning
is
out.
under
That was
attack.
the heart reveal out from UR as well. Doesn't quite achieve what they wanted to. And Outsiders now have a clean line to clear out these last tier 2 towers away from Sonics. High ground defense out from Sonics, heavily relying on a good lasso and a good toss back. If they can maybe drag them back, perhaps the fountain a couple of times, which they can with these spells,
Radiant structures
that could be one way to turn, but again, that's much easier said than done there, Mike.
Then Yamich is there. The Batrider being caught out, gone again. Tip's not stopping. Esparta's gone as well. Is it just time to call this one?
Radiant's middle tower.
It might just be around that time. Smiley face is coming out again. DG.
Oh my God.
They can't take it anymore. No one's smiling on the fight on the side of Sonics. That'll be it. 2-0 the way of Outsiders. Again, the group standings are already kind of set anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered if Sonics were able to win this one out for game number 2. A fun series nonetheless, Jonathan. Plenty of laughs happening here, but what can you do? Outsiders proving to be way too good today.
Yeah, they play phenomenally well. They go back into these specialty picks of theirs, and Sonics, they put up a good game. They weren't quite able to adapt in the way that Outsiders play aggressively, especially in game 1. Very evident from that 6-man group up on mid, and they just fall a bit short. And that is the end of their journey here in the majors, unfortunately. But Outsiders looking like big contenders going in. They will stay in their upper bracket start. They are last seed for that, though, so they will be playing, I believe, first seed on the opposite group, which is going to be a tough opponent. But, you know, you start in upper bracket, you're not going to get eliminated day 1 in playoffs. It's always a good start, and you feel a lot of confidence going in. So Outsiders, they've shown a lot of promise since that DPC Tour 3. Let's see if they can deliver true once we get into those playoffs, Mike.
We'll see if the smiley faces can keep up going into the playoffs, Jonathan. You are correct. And with that, that is it for you and I as well for the day. No more, no tiebreakers, nothing else going on. There are other streams, though. I say nothing else is going on, John. I believe RNG and Liquid are still going at it. And of course, the main stream is also live as well. So do go ahead and head over there. For this stream, however, nothing else happening. So thank you so much for tuning in. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. We'll catch you all again next time.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Bye.